You're listening to the Really Very Crunchy podcast with your hosts, Emily
and Jason. How you feeling, Emily?
Good.
I'm feeling great.
Are you?
1 weekend to keto. And, man, I have to say, a lot of people reached out about the whole keto thing.
Really?
Yeah, mostly good.
Did anybody say keto ruined my life? It gave me diabetes.
Wait, is that a thing?
I thought it could make you diabetic.
What?
Keto?
Have you researched this at all?
That's what you told me.
No, it can make you insulin resistant, and then you gotta, reintroduce carbs, over time.
What is diabetes?
Okay, this is a terrible intro because we have no idea what we're talking about. What is diabetes? It's when your body
When
can't
you're
handle...
insulin resistant?
It's when you can't handle
Is it
sugar.
when you're insulin resistant?
You might not want to say this. You might embarrass yourself.
You are the one who told me that. I was sitting at my mom's kitchen table and you were like, I just gotta make sure I break ketosis every once in a while so I don't become diabetic.
I didn't
those
say
are
that.
the words. Yes, those are the words. Those are the words that came out of your mouth.
That's not what I said.
Yes.
That's what you think I said.
What did you say then? Your
so I don't
cheeks
become
are red. Are you embarrassed?
No, I don't know.
But
So
your cheeks are red.
I'm getting a little annoyed, honestly, because you always
No.
let's
That's what you said.
leave a comment if your wife always says you said something when you didn't say something because she thought something that you said was not what you actually said, but what she thought instead.
Leave a comment if actually your husband does say things and he doesn't remember what he says, but you have a really good memory and you know exactly and can quote him verbatim every single time.
Gonna have a lot of comments on both sides. Leave a comment if you want to fight in the comments. I'll join in. We're under the Really Very Crunchy podcast. It'll all be from me this week. No, I don't. I have no idea. I'm 1 weekend with almost zero research, so
That was
I
at
don't
the
know.
beginning of the week.
Okay,
That
I
was
don't
before.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
It's fine.
I don't think I'm gonna get diabetes from it. In fact, I've read that it heals diabetes. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. You can become insulin resistant if you never take in carbs, and so you potentially have to take in some carbs sometime. And
Right.
So I don't think that makes you diabetic. I don't know.
I mean, I know the words that you said, but yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for taking away from I feel great. It is now I felt great.
I'm really glad. I feel like I'm spending a lot of time in the kitchen.
I mean, not by yourself necessarily. I'm helping. I'm trying.
Some
Doing
yeah,
dishes and
yeah.
corralling kids. It's a team effort,
It's
Emily.
a team effort.
What, you think you're doing all this yourself?
Not all by myself, but it
I cooked
has
myself a steak yesterday.
one day out of the 7. I'm just saying it has weighed more heavily upon me. I'm glad you're feeling great.
Sorry to have burdened you with my disease. If we need to rehash this, we can.
I feel wonderful.
This is your worst nightmare.
Jason, no.
Having to take care of me.
No.
You don't have to take care of me. How many times I'm like, you just make that, I'll make myself something. You're like, nope, we're having something very complicated because I care about you. And I appreciate it. But sometimes I'm like, listen, you don't have to do that. And how can I help? And you're like, no, you don't want me in the kitchen most of the time. That's part of the problem.
Our kitchen's too small.
No, it's
for
because I have no
too many
skill.
cooks in the kitchen.
Well, I'm not a cook, so it'd be like too many people in the kitchen.
Yeah,
not
that
enough
too.
cooks, honestly.
That too.
But
Have you ever had too many cooks in the kitchen? I love making things with my kids.
I haven't personally had too many cooks in the kitchen.
I love letting my kids learn to cook, bake. They love getting involved, but man, that phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen, just so resonates
Too
with
many
me
kids in
when
the
they're
kitchen.
in the kitchen.
Should it just
It is a sacrifice, but I'm grateful to do it because eventually, they'll be a little more self-sufficient, and
well,
it's a process. It's a learning process, and that's something I want them to be able to cook.
and pretty soon they can make me dinner.
Yeah. No, but these days I do worry about, well, who are their spouses, and are their spouses going to be able to cook? People eat a lot of convenience foods, and my kids are gonna probably want really delicious homemade from scratch foods when they grow up, right?
No, I think you've set them up for disappointment. I have thought about this. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, I just have to say this, and I'm not like pandering to you or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word,
I'm
but
listening.
yeah, well, you are an incredible cook. That's why I don't cook attempt even as much, because it's when you make something, it's like I got it from a Michelin rated star restaurant.
Nice.
Okay. And it's like, but that's every stinking night. I'm going to make a pumpkin and turnip soup tonight. And it's like, I've never done this, so we'll see. And it's like, what is this masterpiece?
We'll see.
And then you like never make it again.
So I'm like, that was far too complicated.
Well,
I'm not going to do that again.
Anyway, the point being, our kids get this.
That doesn't sound very good, honestly, a pumpkin turnip soup, but that is what I'm making for dinner tonight.
It's not, it doesn't necessarily sound great until it's made from you. I wouldn't want it from anyone else.
Honestly, I will say for soups, making your own bone broth really, really
makes a big difference.
Takes it up a notch.
Yeah.
So
a good jiggly bone broth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily me making things.
Oh, come on.
And like buying quality ingredients, it matters.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, it is you who puts that together, though.
Yeah, I like interesting flavors and different combinations, and I think you enjoy that. So a lot of people probably wouldn't like my cooking, but I like having something, like strange and exciting.
Well, yeah, just different.
Yeah.
Not conventional necessarily.
Right.
What everybody gets every single day. And we're not having corn dogs every night.
Though a couple weeks ago, our kids really wanted corn dogs. They were begging me to make corn dogs. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do there. So I bought some Applegate corn dogs. This is a confession.
Mm-hmm.
I took them to the store, and it was sort of a bribe moment.
Yeah.
They were getting a little...
I've had a few of those.
A little...
How do you think the gas station pizza happened?
They were getting a little rascally, and I'm like, listen, guys, we can have corn dogs if we can just make it through this.
Yeah.
So...
And it worked.
It worked, and they thoroughly enjoyed those.
That was before my keto days, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, too.
It actually wasn't that bad.
It's pretty good, yeah.
I mean, I'm not getting them every day.
Yeah.
And they would have been really good deep fried.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are baked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back in school, you go in the corn dog, you go through the lunch line, you get the corn dogs. It's like they're either soggy and disgusting or the absolute best one you've ever eaten in your life. And you never knew. You never knew until it got onto your tray, and it either plopped or it rattled.
Oh. Wait, did they serve lunch on a styrofoam?
No.
I know that styrofoam.
It was one of those plastic
sound.
Trays, like that can go through a big dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, surely you had those.
We didn't. Actually, our school served everything on paper plates and paper products. Yeah, it was strange. Like the fries were always totally soggy, but I got fries every day. Like just mush, not even like holding their shape.
Yeah.
But then they had these cookies, and it was actually just like warmed up cookie dough in a plastic bag. Like seriously, it was just melty. They did not bake the cookies properly.
Yeah.
And then immediately put them in the plastic bag.
Do you think school lunches have gotten any better?
I hope so.
Because it was bad when I was there. I mean, I think we've mentioned this before. It was bad.
Yeah.
Like the absolute lowest. It's worse than what they serve in prison, surely.
We got Chick-fil-A on Thursdays.
Really?
Mhm.
We didn't get something so fancy.
But it was totally soggy. Like by the time they delivered it in the morning,
Yeah,
and then
what's the
had it
point?
under a heat lamp.
What's the point if it's not fresh? I mean, half the time when you go to Chick-fil-A, it's already soggy anyway.
How would you know?
Because I went to Chick-fil-A before keto. Yeah.
No,
so
but we realized that keto isn't actually that different than what we eat.
it's very interesting. Yeah.
Like it hasn't been that big of a struggle.
Take exactly how we eat on any given day, minus rice and some
Noodles.
bread. And milk. Milk.
Yeah.
I do miss some milk, but
you're
that's
eating
pretty much
cheese, tons of cheese.
I love cheese so much, so it works.
Yeah. And we give up bread all the time because I'm just too lazy to make it, and we do eat noodles, so probably at least once a week, and can't do that.
Rice was a big one, though.
Rice, though, yeah.
Yeah.
Love rice.
And dried mango.
Yeah, that's hard.
I like dried mango. I like it more than ice cream.
Dried mango? More than ice cream?
I do.
Are you serious?
I love it. My mouth is watering right now thinking about dried mango.
We just got our Azure order in, and I ordered a big bag of it.
I opened the box. There it is, staring up at me. And it's like, this is my first temptation. My first real temptation. I'm like,
I bet you could
could break it just once.
No, you could have like a bite, couldn't you?
I got to have them by the jarfuls.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
But I'd stock the jar and then it would be gone.
Really, all this has done for me is stopped me from overeating all the time.
Yeah.
Because like there were leftover noodles that we made and the kids with like food today with some meatballs and stuff. And like when I'm, serving that up, I'm eating a fourth of that. I'm eating a fourth of whatever the kids eat, no matter what in my normal life. It's the dad tax, but I have a pretty hefty tax burden on our kids. And so I'm eating typically a lot. So like we don't stop letting them have bread or some rice or noodles or whatever, but I'm not eating those things. So
I'm not either, in solidarity.
Thank you. And so when I am cleaning up their plate, they don't always eat everything, whatever. I'm like, wait.
You just eat it, and now you don't.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do the dad tax anymore.
Mm.
And I know that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I just realized how much I eat outside of regular meals just because I have kids at home who don't eat all of their food all the time. Maybe we serve them too much. Maybe I serve them a little too much on purpose so I can have some more dad tax. And that's after me getting seconds. So basically, I realized how much I ate.
There was like about a month ago, you were like, I don't often get seconds, but that was so delicious. And I was thinking, like, you get seconds every meal.
Well, you know what? My firsts weren't big enough. The things are going great. People are very supportive, sending good vibes my way. And that is my update. I'm 1 week in.
And you haven't had keto flu.
No, and my kidneys are better.
Really?
I don't know. I just made that up. They're healed completely. 1 week of keto.
We got your blood work back, and your kidney function had dropped 20 points from 2 years ago. So it felt like very timely.
Yeah.
Like
they're in the 60-something% functioning right now, which is not good.
It was great.
Last time I checked it, which was about 2 years ago. It was in the 80s, and I'm not loving that trend.
Yeah.
So,
is that your worst nightmare?
That's one of them. No, it does actually. That doesn't scare me. That doesn't give me that much anxiety.
You may have not been as hydrated either, so I'll be looking forward to you testing again in a few months.
I'll give you all an update in 3 months because I know you care about.
I think they do.
About this whole keto thing. This is the new Keto podcast. We're changing the name. The Really Very Keto podcast.
No,
all
but
keto all the time.
We should like upload some of my meal plans in case other people are curious, or even just
keto curious.
Yeah, what I'm making. We should do that.
Okay,
I could share the recipes. Is that allowed?
If you
for me to share a recipe,
yeah, of course.
Of
People
someone
ask-
else's?
Sure. That I'm sure the people who you're sending would be like, good, some traffic. Great, finally. Keto was a fad like 7 years ago. Nobody's on my blog anymore.
Yeah.
What's this? 12 people came to look at this. Is great.
No, I have some out of like cookbooks. Is that ethical to share something out of a cookbook? That
You can
is that
do
like
whatever you
pirating?
No, because you're not. Well, maybe. You're not publishing the whole work. I don't know. I think that's fine.
Isn't there some kind of law about like you can
Copyright.
No. You're allowed to share like reading a book aloud. You said you can read a book on YouTube or something, like a read aloud, as long as it's a commentary about it.
I think
or
the
something?
rule is like you can show video clips, you can share media essentially, as long as you're like making commentary on it or about it. I think I'm not 100% sure. Then that is a copyright law. I mean, we're talking about copyright law here.
Right. So as long as I put like a rating on the recipe.
I rate this exact verbatim page.
Yeah. I make a lot of changes. I don't know if anybody else does that. Like, well, I don't have that. I'll do this. I don't like that. I'll add this.
Yeah. Well, I guess
It's
I don't
not
know.
peppery enough. I'll add more of that.
If you would like us to plagiarize some and violate copyright some recipes, leave a comment below, and we'll do that. Like, who's monitoring this anyway? The really very keto podcast.
We aren't actually changing that. Jason didn't even want to talk about Katie. Keto.
I don't want to talk about Katie either. Katie or keto. No. So, anyway, I feel good. Kidneys are healed. We're ready to go. All right. I do have a metallic taste in my mouth just constantly, and I kind of like it.
Okay, weirdo.
See,
Is
here's
it like the taste of licking a battery?
actually sort of, but on the sides of my mouth
Why do you know what that's like?
because I've done it so many times.
Is that
What do you-
like a
What do you mean?
childhood?
I did
thing?
it yesterday.
You licked a battery?
No, but I do know what you're talking about. I've done it a few times.
Yeah, me too. As a kid.
Into maybe a little older for me. I'm like, you know what? I'm in my 20s. I haven't done this in a while. Oh, yep. Tastes the same.
No.
I'm sure.
What?
What's the big deal? It's not like you're taking battery acid or
Did
something.
you ever eat a booger?
No. Well, not in my 20s.
I was never curious about that. Like, I don't understand where that curiosity comes from.
Why are you grossing people out? Everybody's like turning it off right now. I would say maybe twice in my entire childhood. And I was like,
You were just
this is not for me.
curious? Like,
Yeah.
you saw another kid do it and you're like, wonder what that's like.
I don't think I had to see a kid do it just to be curious about it. I think if I would have seen it happen, I would have been grossed out. But this is a gross thing.
Okay.
We're moving away. Don't turn it off. Don't turn it off. We're not talking about that anymore. Because that would be embarrassing.
Are boogers keto?
I'm sorry. I tried. I really tried. I tried.
Okay, I'm done.
We did a video very recently about your worst nightmares.
And it was inspired because I came home and said, Jason, my worst nightmare just happened.
Yeah. And before you even got it out, I was like, wait.
This
Because I
needs
tried to
be a
make
video.
a...
Yeah, you were like, what?
did something,
Whatever.
you know.
Yeah.
And then before you even got to tell me, I'm like, you know what? This should be a video. And then I laid out the whole video before you even told me your worst nightmare. That's how worried I was about your worst nightmare just happening. Which happened to be what? Just in case people didn't see.
I mean, it's not actually my worst nightmare, but it was pretty bad. So there's this house near us that's abandoned, and the previous owner, planted so many beautiful things like daffodils, and there's forsythia, and there's some spirea. There's a beautiful native rose. Anyway, it's an obviously abandoned
I fell
house.
asleep during that whole description. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's obviously abandoned. And so I'll occasionally, just pull in the driveway and cut myself some flowers. thinking that's totally fine. Like, nobody's going to miss it. This
So
house
stealing.
is just, to me, it's not stealing. And I can say that it's not because I pulled into the driveway
To steal.
as normal to cut my friend some daffodils because it was our anniversary. And
whose daffodils were these? The answer, not yours.
wild. They're wild at this point. Who owns the earth, Jason?
Oh, okay. Okay. You're going that route. No,
The wolf cried.
you can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until.
Thank you.
Why are we singing
Okay.
every episode now? A really very singy podcast.
So, but it's like this road where people drive really slow. So I have thought, like, I wonder if anybody's looking at me thinking, like, what's she doing up there at that abandoned house? Anyway, nothing ever happened.
What's she doing over there
Yeah.
at that abandoned house?
Anytime it's happened, people drive
Stealing.
by, it's totally fine. Well, this truck whipped into the driveway. And I didn't know what to do, so I
Whipped in.
whipped in.
Oh,
Whipped into the
that's
driveway.
intimidating.
Yeah. I
Wow.
just like had a handful of flowers and skipped to my car. Like, just started.
Wait, why did you start skipping?
Like, if you run, you look suspicious, but if you skip,
You look crazy.
no. If you skip, it's
You're
like,
looking either
in a
ridiculous or
hurry.
crazy.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
You could have just held the flowers.
No, I actually
You could
started.
have just stood there and waved.
No, I could see the guy see me from far away. So I actually
So
started.
your first thought is,
skipping.
oh
I'm gonna skip
goodness,
back.
I should skip.
Yeah, I'm skipping back to the car right now. So I started skipping before he whipped in. So I was already to the car and he whipped in to the.
Okay.
So
Well, you didn't really present it in that way. I'm imagining this guy comes in, he's out of his truck looking at you, and you're like, uh-oh, better skip to the car.
no, I saw him. I saw him like going slow and eyeing me, then turning onto the road. So I
And
like.
so he's
started
driving
skipping.
in before he whips in. Why is that girl skipping?
Yeah, pretty
She
much.
must be up to something. No, she must be crazy. Because if
So-
she's not, I see that she's not running, so she's not up to something bad, but she might be insane.
So I put the flowers in my car and he pulled into the driveway. He's like, hello? And I was like, yeah? And he's like, can I help you? And I was like, oh, I thought this house was abandoned. And he's like, it is. And I just walked around to the corner of his truck and I said, well, I live really near here and I just drive by here and every year I always come cut daffodils and I didn't really think it would be an issue. And he's like, well, this was my grandmother's house, but she died a long time ago. I just keep an eye on the property. I live such and such. I knew where he lived. And then I introduced myself and I was like, I'm not trying to steal from someone's yard or something.
Even though that was my plan the entire time.
No, because it's foraging.
Right.
It's foraging. It's not stealing if it's not owned. It's abandoned.
He owns it.
Okay. Well, he said, I don't see it that way. He didn't see it as stealing.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why I said it wasn't. Because
Maybe he's crazy.
anyway, he's like, get your flowers. My grandma would get a kick out of that. But just like the embarrassment of being caught in this, like, I was just foraging flowers from an abandoned house. I wasn't really doing anything wrong. But then, like, this moment of, wait, am I doing something wrong? But he was totally cool with it.
Should have been like, hey, can I help you? Yeah, grab a shovel. Come on. I've got some snips for you.
I was like, I would never dig them up. I'm just gonna, like, digging a hole.
But now that you have
talking to
permission,
myself.
you're like, maybe I will go dig them up.
No, I have lots of daffodils. But she has like really nice big ones. I have a lot of beautiful varieties, and I've got a few that are like the big hefty blooms,
Mhm.
but a lot of mine are just the like dainty, more wild ones.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. Yeah.
Someone cares. Anyway, that was my feeling of embarrassment. But, honestly, as I've gotten older, I have become more like ask forgiveness rather than permission type of person when
Oh, yeah.
previously, like growing up, I never would have been bold enough to do something like that. Like for St. Patrick's Day at Forest Friends, we did a like gold hunt, and it was in a park, and I dug a hole in the park. But
I mean,
like to me,
not like next to the slide or anything.
No, it was down under a bridge. It wasn't affecting like the water had already eroded this area.
And you know why it's okay?
Why?
A park ranger didn't drive by. That's why.
No, if a park ranger drove by though, like I wouldn't have even cared. And if he came and asked me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, making a gold hunt for kids. Is that okay?
Well, that's fine. My mom used to make gold hunts for kids in this park all the time. She'd get a kick out of it. I think that's great.
I think it does
Dig
matter.
all the holes you want.
It matters where you live. I live in Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
Rural, nobody cares.
We don't protect our parks.
I'm not going to California and digging a hole. I would never.
No.
I won't pick up a pine cone in California.
Goodness. The park rangers in California.
They cared what kind of helmet we wore.
Yeah. Don't pick up those branches. They fell. Leave it. Okay. It fell on my leg. It's broken. Can I get it, please? No, it fell. It stays where it lays. I got to go to the hospital. Don't move it.
But not everywhere. Some places say you can collect downed wood for firewood, but maybe that was in Oregon.
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, those like West Coast parks, I would never go digging for a gold hunt. And it does depend, like even a bigger city, I wouldn't. I'm like rural, middle of nowhere. Nobody cares. Nobody's even using the parks.
Yeah. We don't even pay taxes for them. They're all volunteers. No, I'm
During
just kidding.
COVID, they like roped off the playgrounds with caution tape, and I just ducked under it and
played on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that made sense. That's a different conversation. Yeah, let's rope off all the slides that were baking in the sun all day. You know, viruses are really surviving on that. All right, sorry. I could go on, but that's been tread a million times by now. Nobody wants to hear that. So you'd say that your worst nightmare is essentially just being embarrassed, immensely embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like getting a talking to really is one of my biggest.
You've gotten a few talking tos in your life.
That's mostly my. It's embarrassing because I'm getting it talking to.
Yeah.
Do you ever get a talking to?
Oh, I mean, my whole life is getting a talking to. Like, adults didn't talk to me unless I was getting a talking to. Like, there was no, how's your day, kiddo? It's, what are you doing? Don't do that. You're doing something bad. You're getting punished. That's my life. So, yeah, I mean,
but as an adult,
nothing.
Like, you don't care. You got too many talking to,
so
now there's
that
not
just
effective.
It's in one ear, out the other.
They really ruined it for me because I try to give you a talking to and you don't care.
Yeah, I couldn't. Are you finished? Like, I've had way worse than this lady. Yeah. So, I've had plenty of embarrassing moments, but we're kind of talking about our most embarrassing moments when we were younger or just in our whole life. And honestly, I can't think of that many where I'm just so embarrassed, except from when I was a very, very young child. Very young. Like, we're talking between the ages of like 4 and 8, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time there I was just getting embarrassed all the time. And then I think, and there's some truth to what I just said about always getting a talking to and always being embarrassed in that time. And that I do think that it happened so often, talking tos, embarrassment, punishments, whatever, that I did get hardened to that type of thing. And now I'm more of a person of, I don't care what they have to say. Mm-hmm. I don't care what they have to say. Like, It means nothing to me. You mean nothing to me if you want to just talk down to me. You want to give me a talking to? I want to talk to you about how you whipped into that property. Yeah, I can get flowers here, but you came here and tried to intimidate me. Back up, dude.
You would never stop and pick flowers, though, from
I did that day. and he stopped me.
No, actually, I'm going to write a thank you card and slip it on his mailbox. And
No wonder your mom died.
It
You're
was his
probably so
grandma.
mean to her.
It was his grandma. He was so nice. He shook my hand.
He probably listens to the podcast.
Probably.
I'm just kidding.
No.
He saw who you were and was like, oh, it's really very crunchy. Keep cool, keep cool, keep cool.
That is not true at all. He did not know who I was.
Was he like in his 70s or something?
No, he's like our age.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm imagining, see, this is how I imagine anyone who comes in, like, about to give you a talking to. It's this old man who walks up. He's balding, has gray sides and wrinkles, and he's kind of big and tough and barely opens his mouth when he talks. And he's just like, "Ugh." That's what I imagine.
I've had a few of those. But no, this guy's probably 42, like
Okay.
barely older than me.
Okay. That plays a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't like a big guy.
Oh, and
Like
they're smoking every time too. Like
Nope.
that in my mind.
Didn't look like wasn't smoking, didn't see signs of smoking.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, the story is much different in my head.
You thought that that kind of person lived in that modern of a house that was just built with the deer stand out
You
back?
never know. I mean, he'd probably. I have no idea. I haven't really looked at that
You haven't
house.
looked at that house?
Not really.
Man, I'm so nosy.
You are. Yeah, we know that already. You're the
I know
nosiest.
what color sofa everyone in our neighborhood has. If their window's open, I'm
What?
looking.
What?
Not actually. That was a joke, but
Oh.
I'm nosy. Yeah, like I know what's going on. I know a house is abandoned. I know it's abandoned. because-
Barely knew there was a house there.
I know. You're like, where are you talking about?
Yeah. Like, there's a house on the road that I frequent? What are you talking about? A house? I'm not thinking about, like, I'm not looking at anything. Like, my brain is just
naturally notice. It's not that I'm nosy. Actually, I'm not seeking to notice these things. It just happens.
Yeah.
I just notice things.
I just keep my eyes on the road and don't think about what's around me.
Particularly
my brain is
plants.
just somewhere else.
I notice mushrooms in other people's yards.
What?
Do you not see that?
No.
I'm
Maybe
like
the
so
only time I
excited.
ever notice a mushroom is when I accidentally kick it over.
There's another abandoned property that has a pink.
That I'm planning to steal
No.
from.
Yes, there's a pink dogwood on that property,
Mm-hmm.
and oh yeah, can't wait to go get clippings here in a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
Just already imagining the beautiful arrangement I can make.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. You're, yeah. All right. Well, anyway, what I was getting to is that, I was just going to tell one of the stories.
Yeah. No, I want to hear.
Of when I was incredibly embarrassed. I think I was probably 5 or 6, but I remember it vividly. My parents were those parents that, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I'll just, for those who might not know, your movie choices were different. Like, I didn't just watch kids' movies. I got to watch whatever my if my parents were watching it, we got to watch it. However, they had very strict rules on language, most of the R-rated type of stuff that, or PG-13 or even sometimes PG things were not allowed in our home at all whatsoever. Okay. And that's fine. That's great. Whatever. I think it's
Even as an adult, I remember watching movies with your parents.
Yeah. Yes. And anyway, but there was this occasion when my dad just really loved a movie. And one of them was The Last of the Mohicans back in like 1992. And it was, I mean, by today's standard, it's a rated R movie. But by today's standards, it would barely be PG-13 in terms of just like violence. There's hardly any language. There's no like nudity or anything like that. And it's
Wait, isn't there a butt? There's a butt, right?
No.
Oh.
No.
Isn't there like a waterfall scene?
That's that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, okay. You also got to watch that movie, though.
Yes. Which, interestingly enough, that actually has an F-bomb in it that my parents never even heard. But my siblings pointed out to me, and I was like, oh, we've been listening to this and they didn't care. Like, no, they just didn't hear it.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, anyway. Well, my dad's the pastor of this, Baptist church in Mississippi. But I'm this 5-year-old who knows that The Last of the Mohicans is a rated R movie. I know what rated R is. Our kids don't even know what ratings are at this. Like, they don't even know. They just know, is it a kids movie or a not kids movie? And to me, it's like, oh, I'm 5 years old and I get to watch a rated R movie? The Last of the Mohicans. And, which, upon reflection, I would not let our 5-year-old watch that movie, even if by today's standards it's not that crazy. I mean, it's historical and there's battle scenes and stuff. And it's a really great movie. I love that movie. Well, I went to church, I don't know, maybe later that week or something, and I told my friends, all of my friends, I get to watch rated R movies. My dad lets me watch rated R movies.
The pastor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At church. The only friends I had were at church. I'm like, I don't know how the conversation came up. I'm sure I brought it up. Hey, guess what? I get to watch rated R movies. What? Yeah, I watched Last of the Mohicans last night. What do you want? And I don't think anybody questioned me on it. I don't think anybody asked me what other rated R movies I got to see, which I couldn't have even named any. But I get to watch rated R movies. Isn't it pretty cool? Aren't I kind of awesome? Well, anyway, it got around, obviously, to my dad probably 10 minutes later. And I've never felt more fear, shame, and my parents just oh my goodness, how in the world? I think they gave me, I got a spanking. I'm pretty sure I got, you talk about a talking to. He turned into this gray man with a cigar hanging out of the side of his mouth. He didn't smoke, but yeah, and it was awful. And so as a 5-year-old, they made me call each parent in the church, every one of them, to apologize and say, I don't get to watch rated R movies. I promise I don't get to. Even though I did. I was so embarrassed. That moment was my worst nightmare as a 5-year-old, just having to talk to adults at all. I was really not great at talking to adults anyway. And then to have to call them up and apologize and it's okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, my first thought, and my thought now as an adult, is you could just say, no, we don't let him.
We watched Last of the Mohicans, but...
Yeah. But that probably, who knows, maybe to the people he was pastoring, they would have been like, you watched what? I have no idea. It was 92 in rural Mississippi. Who knows? It was incredibly embarrassing. Aww. And I don't know if that story was worth it to you all, but there it is. That is my story. And I now know I will never make my children call other parents to apologize.
I got called by a child once to apologize to me.
It's the worst for that kid. Were you gracious?
Yeah, I was like, this is so weird that she's calling me. I did not say that. Obviously, I wasn't going to be like, your mom is a weirdo for making you call me. No.
What if you did that? What if this kid's like, I'm so sorry that I did this thing? Don't ever call me again. How did you get my number, you rat filth? You just make them feel terrible.
No. I
couldn't believe you actually did that. I hope you get 30 lashings.
This was a church thing. There was a little girl, and
isn't it always a church thing?
Yeah. So the church always had a meal after the service, and then everybody cleaned up. And while we were cleaning up, her mom overheard her complain about wiping down the tables, barely. I think I was probably ugh, the girl was like, yes.
Yeah, for real.
I know, exactly. It was probably like that. Anyway, she called me. She's like, I'm sorry, I had such a bad attitude about.
Oh, wow.
whatever. And I was like, what? No, it's totally fine. Wiping up tables stinks. No, I didn't. I mean, I'm sure she's like, it's okay.
But is your mom listening to this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if she weren't.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Your mom's crazy. Run.
I get it, though. I understand the importance of teaching children. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But I did not make Alder call all those moms at Forest Frisbee. We went down the line and called them all stupid.
Yeah. Well, okay, so...
But I think it's a different time, too. Like, I think in the 90s, maybe parents...
when they called you, when was that?
That was early 2000s-ish, right? And yeah, probably, mid. 2012, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So
you're an adult.
Yeah, I was an adult.
Okay.
But early young adult.
We were married?
Yeah. You don't remember this church? It was the one in Sheboygan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's weird when your parents are making you do that out of embarrassment to themselves, which is possible. And then B, maybe that they're a little hypersensitive to, like, I don't know. I don't think that warranted a call. I do think there is a situation where, like, okay, you need to call little Johnny or whatever because you beat him up.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go apologize.
Or like if you were playing with a BB gun and shot out your neighbor's window.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Okay, we're going over there and you're going to apologize.
Yeah, and we're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And this did not happen to me, but...
Right. Like, you complained while wiping down a table. You're calling her.
But, like, what I was saying is I think parents nowadays are more gracious to other parents. Like, we all know that children have crazy moments, and sometimes they have meltdowns and hard times.
Yeah.
Like, every child does, I think.
Yeah.
No. I hope.
No, they do.
And so, like, my Forest Friends group, when that happened, I don't think any of them thought twice about it because it was like, oh, he's having a hard time. You know?
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, there was a time, I mean, you're dealing with, especially back then, like, we go back to my story, you're kind of dealing with people coming out of a culture where everything, back when they were kids.
Right.
Everything had to be a certain way, and if anything was out of line, then
there are major
then the parents aren't doing right. Where now we're kind of more of a, like, kids are.
Kids.
I mean, and you were telling me the other day too, like, when a kid has a meltdown in front of you, or is just acting absolutely crazy and going just nuts over something, there's actually this idea that they feel very safe with you. I'm not saying that the behavior is necessarily excusable. You can still talk to them about it, deal with it, teach about
appropriate ways of
But what they're also showing you is that they aren't afraid to express themselves.
Right.
Yes, you have to teach them how to express themselves in a more in an appropriate way, but it doesn't mean that the parents are doing something wrong. And in fact, it could mean that they're doing something right. Rather than forcing your kids to just bottle everything up and then call Miss Nancy, who plays the piano, that you can tell her you don't watch rated R movies. It's like, well, parents, I look at it now like, you let me watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I was telling the truth.
Yeah.
You're making me lie.
So what about your preschool? You're like, you have a infamous story about being in preschool and being so embarrassed. Was that something that you actually were wrongly accused for?
See, I don't know the circumstances surrounding it. I was a little bit of a troublemaker.
Alder is so much like you.
Yeah.
Like Jason, I'm sure we've said it before, but Jason got kicked out of Vacation Bible School at the church that his dad was a pastor of.
And probably because I was bringing in rated R movies or something. Like, hey, watch this one. I got a new one. Opening my coat. Like, here's Terminator 2. No. Well, that's the fault of the staff of the church who can't handle a 5-year-old at Vacation Bible School. It's like, deal with it.
Well, I think about Alder and I'm like, I wonder. I do think he would be labeled probably a bad kid
and whoever labeled him deserves a smack upside the head because they're wrong. He's a great kid.
He's a wonderful child, but he's also rascally.
They don't know
a rascal, and you were too.
Yeah, we stand together.
So
I don't know the circumstances surrounding this particular embarrassing situation. All I remember is an image, honestly. And I'm standing in the bathroom with my pants down. All the kids are looking into the bathroom with me with my bare bottom staring back at them. And I'm waiting to be paddled in the bathroom, bare bottom with a paddle in front of all the children. All the children staring at my butt as I await to be paddled by the teacher. Again, bare bottom.
Oh. And then she ripped up your watch and threw it away?
Well, not the same day. That was just a different...
Oh.
Yeah, she must have been something else.
Having a hard time.
She was having a hard time.
She was having a hard time.
Yeah, I still fault her, but she was having a hard time. Bad day. She had multiple bad days with me in particular. No, and I just remember that being incredibly embarrassing. Man, the 90s were weird. Like, close the door at least.
Yeah.
Weirdo. Why are you pulling my pants down?
That is strange.
Yeah.
That's really strange.
Like, it hurts enough through the clothes. You don't have to pull my pants down. And you don't have to show the entire classroom my butt.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
That is.
Pull your pants down, child. I'm going to hurt it. In front of everyone.
If you think people are turning off the podcast because of talking about boogers,
well, I mean, it's my experience.
I think you've done it in.
One more that I can think of is when I was a kid, and I'll just go through this quickly. I remember one time it was very cold, and I didn't bring a jacket. I was at the church with my dad in the middle of the week, and he wanted to go meet a friend in the mall to eat somewhere or something.
McDonald's.
No, I don't think he went to McDonald's. He dropped me off. I'm like 8 or something like that.
He dropped you off at McDonald's?
Yeah, in the mall. He's like, go get you, here's some money, go get you some, like a Happy Meal or something. But like...
Do you remember when McDonald's was in the back of Walmart?
Yeah. Not in the back. I thought it was in the front.
No, it was in the back. There are some that have them in the front, but ours was in the back.
Oh, I don't remember that, no.
You don't remember that?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, anyway, it was so cold outside, and I didn't bring a jacket. And it's like, well, that's kind of your fault, Dad. I mean, you're the one that's supposed to put a jacket on me, right? You brought me here.
If you were 8,
he brought me. He saw I didn't have one. Anyway, I was wearing that's probably why though, because I was wearing a Batman costume, playing around at the church, like being Batman, Batman. You know, I wasn't doing that, but. And then it was time for me to go get lunch when he went and met with his friend. And he dropped me off and he said, no, you don't have a coat. You have to wear your Batman costume. And I'm like, the whole thing? He's like, yeah, you have to wear a Batman costume. You can put on the mask if you don't want people to see who you are. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm standing in line in McDonald's by myself, an 8-year-old with a full dress as a Batman. Cape, flapping behind me with my mask on, and I'm looking around, and everybody's staring at me. I wore the mask, yes. I could have just worn like the leotard or whatever it was, but I'm wearing the mask and the ears and the cape and the little boots that go over your shoes. And I just walk up to the counter and order my Happy Meal. But the embarrassing part is that I look around and everybody in the McDonald's is laughing at me.
Oh.
Yes, not like, ha, 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 look at the dork. No, but it was just like, everybody's staring at me.
It was like, look how cute he is.
Maybe, but I'm seeing, what I see is, ha, ha, look at the dork.
Yeah.
And like, it could have been avoided by just not making me. I was like, I'm fine. I don't need the jacket. No, you're wearing your Batman costume. It's cold out there.
Oh, you had clothes on underneath.
Yeah, shirt and like pants.
That's weird. That's so weird.
I wasn't in my underwear.
You wanted to take it off.
Yeah,
but
to go eat at McDonald's.
I didn't know this part of the story. That is so weird.
Yeah.
But sometimes, okay, well, everything in your parenting style is making sense to me. You care about some of the weirdest things. I'm like,
do I?
Yeah.
I feel like I've let go of some of those things.
Like,
come on, give me some credit.
Yeah, you have, but that is so funny.
You're going to McDonald's in your Wildcrats costume.
We would never. So
right.
Our kids, actually, I've accidentally like made them scared of McDonald's a little bit. Not that they're scared, but they're like, there are people at McDonald's.
That's
Mom.
Unhealthy.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
we never actually did that on purpose. We just said, no, we don't go there because it's not very healthy.
Yeah.
And they're like, they took that and ran with it.
Yeah. When we were on our trip, I think that was like the only option once at a stop. And our kids were like, never. I'll go hungry. Like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I think you have one or two.
So you've only been embarrassed 3 times.
Those are the things that always come to my mind if I ever think about when have I been most embarrassed by something, and it's always, about that era of my childhood. I'm sure there's been plenty of times that I've been just thoroughly embarrassed, but nothing that just stuck with me. So anything early stuck with me. The things I get embarrassed about now are more like when I mess up something and don't realize it until later, like the percentage thing we talked about the other day when I said, like, you are 51%.
Oh,
really very crunchy. I'm 50.
Yeah.
Well, that embarrasses me much later on when I realized, like, oh, I was stupid. That's not how math works.
I've seen you embarrassed a few times, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get embarrassed, and that's normal, but it doesn't stay with me.
Right.
But yeah.
Oh, well, most of my like most embarrassing moments are based on how others would view me. It's I
guess that's what embarrassment is. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Like whenever I was in 5th grade, we switched schools. I switched to a public school for a little while, and there's something in me that wants to be in a leadership role. Like, I've always just been really quick to volunteer. In college, I think I was the president of like 3 of the organizations.
Yeah, no. You were like going after it, and I'm like, that's too much work.
I thought it would look good on a resume. I mean, you need a lot of help when your degree is organizational communications. Like,
yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
So it's just always been in me to be in a leadership role. So whenever I switched schools, they were doing like running for class president. I was like, oh, I'll run for class. I didn't even know what that was. Yeah. And I'm like, the new kid.
It's a popularity contest.
Yeah. Nobody knows me. But someone told me, like, you need to bring something to pass out to everybody to convince them to vote for you.
Oh, no.
So I heard that their, what is it? Like, rival is the Mayfield
like
school.
The rival mascot.
Yeah. So it was like this little scarecrow type guy called the Mayfield Man, and their colors were red. So what people did is they made like these little yarn Mayfield men out of red yarn and like made a keychain out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I went home and I'm like, Mom, we got to make these Mayfield men. I'm trying to be.
Wait, why would they do that if for their rival?
To like throw them away, or I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't even know. That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
They did a big like burning of the Mayfield Man.
Well, there you go.
And so then maybe you throw them in. I don't know, Jason.
Probably something like that.
Just like.
Yeah. So you took that idea.
So I'm like, we'll make little Mayfield men. Went home, told my mom we got to make 100 Mayfield men tonight. She's like, we don't have any red yarn. We have this rainbow yarn.
Oh, no.
I'm like, is that the only option? Like, can we go get some red yarn? No, we cannot. We can do it out of rainbow yarn. So
we cannot go get that $1.50 ball of yarn.
Brought all these rainbow. It didn't hit. Didn't land.
No.
And I wasn't gonna get it anyway. Like, the most popular girl definitely got it. I still remember her name.
Yeah.
so awkward of me to even try to run for it.
Like, who is this weirdo that just started here?
Yeah.
Passing out
who
rainbow
does she
men?
think? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so weird. So I was
what
like,
school does this represent exactly?
I was obviously mortified. Then I went back to the other school and
That's
then got
so awkward.
I know. I was completely mortified so many times from things like that, like just dumb, like not having any social awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
Like one time in high school, in color guard, our band field was just a big open field, and there was a big muddy patch, and all the color guard was like playing in it, and we got totally covered in mud, and we were like being ridiculous. And then we went into the band room, and the band director was so mad at us. And then the next day, we found out that a sewage line had burst, and that's why it was like so muddy. And we played in that.
That's
and, like
awful.
Our whole, like everybody was looking at us because we were covered in mud. We were just trying to be like funny, but then it was like so embarrassing. I don't think it was like feces. It's just like, but liquid.
Yeah.
Had
just sewage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we covered ourselves in that.
That's awful.
So embarrassing.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
You didn't smell it?
It didn't. No, it didn't really. And the next day we smelled it. Like in the moment. I don't know if we were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were lots of times like that. Like in 5th grade, I couldn't run the mile for the presidential fitness test. I was with the really out of shape kids. And I wasn't that out of shape. I could do I think I won for the push-ups and the sit-ups and the pull-ups. I was like the top. But then
you still don't like to run.
I hate running. I think it had something to do with my airway. I can't breathe, so I just get a side stitch.
That's called being out of shape.
So I was, but there are like kids who were very obviously out of shape, didn't even try to run. They were walking the whole time, and I was like with them. I was so
trying as hard as you could.
I was so embarrassed at that. But like nobody ever said anything about it. Well, I don't know.
Well, that's nice of them.
That's why I got my kids a tooth pillow to make sure their airways properly developed so they can breathe so they can run a mile.
Yeah, when we send them to public school for
the presidential fitness test.
And,
it's just embarrassment after embarrassment. One time we went on a trip and I don't even... Oh, they took us out to Chinese food.
Who's they and what situation?
I was in high school. They took us to a Chinese restaurant because I was in, what's it called? HASA or healthcare students?
Hospice.
No.
Oh.
I don't know. It's something about students who wanted to work in healthcare. So I was in high school and we went on a trip and they took us out to eat Chinese food. So I was like, well, I'm going to save money and go ahead and get a bunch to take home or take back to the hotel room.
From a buffet?
Yeah. They let you get takeout. So whatever it was. I guess it might have been a buffet. Anyway, I took it back to the room and then Hosa. No, I can't remember what it was. Okay, I took it back to the hotel room and I cranked up the heat to keep it hot while I went to all the meetings. I don't know what I was thinking. But then I went back to the room, got my hot Chinese food, got on the school bus, and somebody was like, that's not safe. You shouldn't eat that.
Yeah.
And
how long were you away from it?
Hours. All night. I think
so
it
gross.
Was. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Not the brightest bulb.
Keep it hot. Like set it in front of a 75-degree heater.
I think it was in the refrigerator overnight, and then I put it on the heater to heat it up.
Okay.
Anyway, so I didn't end up eating it, and then I somehow knocked it off the seat, and the Chinese food spilled all over the bus. It was like a super saucy situation. Went all the way down. And then I couldn't get up to clean it up. And I'm just sitting there for several hours, so embarrassed that I spilled it. And everybody's having to smell this old Chinese food, just
That's terrible.
spilled on the floor. And then everybody gets up and is stepping over it.
Slipping
And then
from
I'm
it.
like trying to clean it with the one roll of paper towels that they have at the front of the bus. And the bus driver's like so mad at me, obviously. Just like
Yeah.
a lot of my embarrassment comes from
Just you being
poor
you.
choices. Yeah, just really not. I was trying to save a buck, okay?
Yeah.
Like we went to a place called Value City. I bought a dress and...
Oh, man. We're changing the name of the show to the Really Very Poor
Cringy.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there.
I've got so many stories, just one after another of being an imbecile. So then, therefore, being completely embarrassed.
I think I turned my embarrassment in my embarrassing situations into a personality trait to where I couldn't be embarrassed in terms of like that why I was such a crazy teenager just doing pranks and stuff like that. I flipped it on its head to where I couldn't, like, if something happened to me that would be embarrassing to other people, well, it's just part of my clownish personality. So maybe that was just, compensating for having been or felt so embarrassed as such a young child.
Yeah, I feel that. I definitely, like, now there's basically nothing that could happen to me that, well, I don't want to say that, but it feels like everything that could has.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to talk about the nail polish. That's probably the very worst one.
Let's hear it.
I went home with a boyfriend to go to a wedding in his family, and it was like a really fancy wedding, $500,000 wedding. This like crazy. I've never been invited to something so fancy. Mm. I didn't even have proper clothing. People were wearing formal gowns and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I hadn't met his mom, but I was staying in their guest bedroom that had extremely white carpet. And I decided beforehand I should paint my nails because that's what people do before they go to a fancy event. So while I was trying to paint my nails with bright red nail polish, I accidentally knocked the nail polish over and it poured onto the bright white carpet. And I didn't know what to do. So I ran to the bathroom and I tried to find nail polish remover, thinking like maybe I could somehow remedy this. So I used my underwear because I didn't want to ruin any of their towels. And I'm like trying to sop it up, like freaking out. And it was just spreading everywhere. And it was bad. So then I had to go into her room and be like, "Hi, I'm Emily. I ruined your carpet. And I'm so sorry."
They hadn't met you before?
No, I'd never met them.
Oh, gosh.
And then we go to this super fancy wedding and everyone's like, "Oh, you're the nail polish girl." No. But they were so rich that probably getting their carpet replaced wasn't any issue.
Maybe she wanted it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Well, I don't know if we actually told this story on the podcast, but the wedding brings up an adult embarrassing moment. When I went to your aunt's wedding. We
did tell that.
We did?
Everyone knows.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, in case you don't know, the long and short of it is tight clothes from American Eagle.
Sizes too small.
Showed up to this wedding in flip-flops and clothes that I just couldn't fit into. And people laughed at me.
Nobody laughed at you. Nobody laughed at you.
Your brother and cousin did.
Wow.
Well.
So,
anyway.
Share in the comments what's happened to you.
Hey, I did want to update everybody. We made it to 1,000 ratings on Spotify. Woohoo! But you Apple people, you're kind of lagging behind. All you have to do is go into the Apple app, scroll down to where it says ratings and reviews, tap the 5-star button. It asks if you want to leave a review. You don't have to. You can just leave the rating. We're almost to 1,000. And if we get to 1,000, I'm going to say hooray on the next episode.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, we need it, though. We need it. If you've ever been embarrassed, write about it in your review.
That would seem so random. Someone's like checking
I'm
out
so
the
embarrassed
podcast.
to rate this
Yeah.
podcast. No. Anyway. I don't know what to glean from all of that, except that
The more you're embarrassed as a kid, the less embarrassed you'll be as an adult, you think?
the less self-aware you are as an adult, the more insufferable you are as a human.
I think I'm like all my embarrassment though is just kind of klutzy. Just kind of like
Yeah.
it kind of makes me worried about if I'm even.
Mine all had to do with authority figures.
Yeah, yours had to do with authority and mine had to do with being kind of dumb. I've wisened up.
You've wisened up, and I hate authority. Well, take that with you, folks. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I actually would love to hear any embarrassing moments that you have in the comments.
Yeah, I love hearing about that kind of stuff.
Maybe we'll read some on the next episode.
Oh, that'd be fun.
If we want to. This is actually after all, the really very keto podcast. So if you have any keto embarrassing moments, I'm kidding. All right, but yeah, we'd love to hear them, love to read them, and can't wait to talk to you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.